phone rang, and it's any parent's worst nightmare to get a phone call like that. It's my friend Sean on his cell phone. He said, from what I remember, he just said, "Pat, Terrell's been in a bad accident. You got to get down here."
At the party, I saw Terrell. He was across in a different room, and we just kind of waved. It was kind of a neat sort of experience. We've never been at the same party at the same time, even though he was my little brother.
The kids around here drink a lot because they feel there's nothing else to do, and that it's not fun unless you are drunk, or that there's no reason for a party unless you drink. And a lot of kids drink to get hammered.
The party started to die out, and one of my friends came in the door, and he was kind of acting a little weird, and I asked him what's going on, like frantically, because I knew something was really wrong. And he just said there's a car accident.
I know a lot of bush parties here, when people are planning on going home, they get with the group they came and go, okay, who's the soberest? And think that that's better than nothing.
When I got there, I could see the car over the hill, upside down. I could just hear people screaming. And at that point, my friend came up to me. I could just see in her eyes that something was really wrong. I just had a terrible feeling in my stomach. And she just said that Terrell's friend found his body. At that point, I think I just fell down.
I stood at the bank, and finally, I can't recall if it was Sean or who it was, came up and grabbed me and said, "Pat, he's dead." And that's when I lost it. But as I got to the bottom of the hill, the officer looked up and he saw me. I don't know, the other one radioed that I was coming down. So he walked me around the car. As I got around to the other side of the car, he turned the flashlight on, and he was laying there backwards. Somebody rolled him over. So the first thing I did was just ran up to him, picked his head up, and just kept saying, "My baby." And he gurgled, so that scared me. And as I put his head down, I wasn't in there for 5 seconds, and then I was told I had to leave so the policemen could do their job. So I went back up the hill and saw Harmony sitting there crying, and I wish I would have had more sense to pick her up and hug her, but I was pretty well gone, hysterical, and I just tapped her and said, "We have to leave because he's no longer with us." And they took me up to the emergency, to the morgue. I went there and I saw Terrell, and I looked down at him and put his arms around me and told him to wake up and hug me one more time. It was hard. I looked at him lots. The worst I remember is I didn't want people going in and seeing him because his lips were split and his front tooth was missing. So I didn't want anybody to see him that way. I wanted them to remember him, who he was, so I covered his face up. But I did go to the morgue 3 times that day too. This is something that parents do. I'm gonna stop for a second.
My dad devoted his life to us. Immediately, starting right after the accident, he kind of just went into a really very depressed state. Did not want to talk about anything. Of course, he doesn't joke around anymore. He's very quiet, and we'll visit for a short period of time, and then he would take off just to get away from, I don't know what it is he's trying to get away from.
The hardest thing for me is to see the other people drinking and driving today, after seeing them at Tyrell's memorial as upset as they were. And they just go out and do it again anyways.